Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to tell you an incredible story that happened in Seattle. But first, tell me in the comments which city you're watching from, because heroes live everywhere, and maybe your neighbors with such a hidden legend too. And if you believe that the courage women have shown throughout history deserves to be remembered, don't forget to subscribe, because sometimes the greatest heroes are the quietest ones. When firefighters evacuated the elderly woman from her home, they told her, "Don't worry, ma'am, everything will be fine." 82-year-old Eleanor just nodded, but what they saw on her house walls after extinguishing the fire shocked them. Distinguished Flying Cross, Air Medal, and a 1943 Women Air Force Service Pilot certificate. This woman was one of World War II's first female combat pilots. The old Victorian-style house in Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood was quiet that Tuesday afternoon. Eleanor Thompson, 82 years old, had left the stove on while making tea in the kitchen. The moments of forgetfulness that came with old age were becoming more frequent now. At exactly 2:30 p.m., neighbor Mrs. Patterson noticed smoke coming from the window and called 911. "There's a fire at 1247 Pine Street. An elderly woman is inside." Seattle Fire Department Engine 25 crew reached the scene within 4 minutes. Captain Rodriguez, driver Williams, and firefighters Jackson and Chen quickly assessed the situation. Light smoke was coming from the house. It wasn't a major fire, but if an elderly person was inside, they couldn't waste time. "Eleanor! Eleanor Thompson!" Captain Rodriguez shouted while knocking on the door. A weak voice came from inside. "I'm here." "I'm in the kitchen." The door was locked. Williams broke it open with his shoulder, and the team entered. The kitchen was filled with light smoke. A pan on the stove was burning. Jackson turned off the stove while Chen found the elderly woman. Eleanor Thompson was standing next to the kitchen table. Small-built, silver-haired, but she looked calm. She hadn't panicked, just seemed slightly confused. "Ma'am, are you all right?" Chen approached her. I'm fine. I guess I left the stove on while making tea." "Don't worry, ma'am, everything will be fine." Rodriguez comforted her as he helped her outside. "Let's get you to the ambulance for a checkup." Eleanor nodded. She didn't protest. She seemed very experienced. "You know best." While the ambulance crew checked Eleanor outside, the firefighters began assessing the damage inside the house. Actually, there wasn't major damage, just the pan in the kitchen and some smoke. But procedure required them to check the entire house. Williams was cleaning the kitchen while Jackson was examining the living room. Chen checked the bedroom. Rodriguez was noting the house's condition for the fire report. Jackson paused as he looked at the walls in the living room. Something was different here. There were framed photographs on the walls. But these weren't ordinary family photos. These were old black and white photographs. And in the photographs, there were airplanes. In one photo, a young woman was standing in front of a large military aircraft. She was wearing pilot gear. It looked like it was from the 1940s. Jackson looked closer. The young woman in the photo looked like Eleanor, very much like Eleanor. "Hey, Captain," Jackson called out, "can you come look at this?" Rodriguez came to the living room. Jackson pointed to the photographs on the wall. "Look at these photos. This lady, was she a pilot?" Rodriguez looked at the photographs. Not just one photo, but many photos. Young Eleanor next to various aircraft in various uniforms, and the most striking ones, framed medals and certificates hanging on the wall. Rodriguez approached and read, "Distinguished Flying Cross." Below it, Air Medal, and also a certificate, Women Air Force Service Pilots, WASP, Eleanor M. Thompson, 1943. "Wow," Rodriguez held his breath. "This woman is a war pilot." Williams came from the kitchen. "What are you saying?" "That elderly lady, she's not just an elderly lady, she's a World War II pilot. Now I'm curious in the comments. Do you know any elderly person with such a hidden past in your area? And what would be your first reaction if you encountered such a discovery? Write it down. Williams looked at the wall. His eyes widened. What is WASP? Women Air Force Service Pilots, Rodriguez explained. Female pilots during World War II. Very few women were accepted. They were incredibly brave women. Chen called from the bedroom, "Look at this, too." They all went to the bedroom together. There was more there. On a desk sat pilot logbooks, maps, and old pilot equipment. A large photograph hung on the wall, Eleanor sitting in the cockpit of a P-51 Mustang aircraft. She was smiling, looking young and determined. "That's a P-51 Mustang," Williams said, "one of the best fighter planes of World War II. "And this lady flew it," Jackson added in amazement. Outside, Eleanor was still sitting by the ambulance. The paramedics' examination was finished. Her health was fine. Rodriguez went outside and approached Eleanor. "Mrs. Thompson," he said respectfully, "we saw the photographs in your house. Were you a pilot?" Eleanor looked at Rodriguez. There was a different kind of respect in the man's tone. "Used to be, a long time ago." "A WASP pilot?" Eleanor nodded. 1943 to 1944, a year and a half. "Which aircraft did you fly?" P-51 Mustang, P-47 Thunderbolt, B-25 Mitchell, various aircraft. Rodriguez's breath caught. These were fighter planes, heavy bomber aircraft. "Mrs. Thompson, how did you earn the Distinguished Flying Cross?" Eleanor hesitated a bit. No one had asked this question for a long time. "In 1944, while taking a B-25 from Texas to California, I experienced engine failure. I had to make an emergency landing with one engine. There were 2 wounded soldiers inside. I landed them safely." "And the Air Medal?" "For completing 25 flight missions. Back then, women couldn't be sent on combat missions, but we were testing aircraft for male pilots to use, transporting them from place to place." Rodriguez listened in admiration. This small, elderly woman was a World War II hero. "Mrs. Thompson, why have you never talked about it? Do your neighbors know?" Eleanor smiled. "What would I talk about?" "The war ended. Life went on. I got married, had children, lived a normal life." "But you're a hero." "No," Eleanor interrupted. "I just did my job. The real heroes were those who died in the war. I just flew planes." At that moment, Jackson approached. "Mrs. Thompson, may I ask, were you ever scared?" Eleanor thought. "Of course I was scared. Every flight. But duty was more important than fear. My country called me and I answered." "It must have been difficult being a woman in that era." "Very difficult. Male pilots didn't want us. Soldiers didn't respect us. But we proved ourselves. 38 female pilots died in the WASP program. But we continued." Williams asked, "What did you do after the program?" "When the war ended, the WASP program was closed. We returned to our homes. I came to Seattle, married Bill. He was also a veteran. We had children, normal life." "Did you ever fly again?" Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. "Until Bill passed away in 1987, we rented a small plane and flew every year. Then I quit." Rodriguez turned to his team. "Everyone should know about this woman." "No," Eleanor intervened. "Please, I just want to live quietly." "But Mrs. Thompson, your story is inspiring for young girls. Young girls already know they can do anything. In our time, they didn't know. Now they do." Rodriguez understood that Eleanor didn't want to be recognized. At this age, she had the right to want peace. "I understand, but at least we know, and we're honored to have met you." Eleanor smiled. "Thank you. You're heroes, too. You save lives every day." That evening at the fire station, Rodriguez told Eleanor's story to his crew. Everyone was fascinated. There were 1,000 WASP pilots. Rodriguez shared the information he had researched. 38 of them died, but none of them were recognized as veterans until 1977. What do you mean? Chen asked. They weren't considered soldiers. Just civilian workers, no pay, no funeral benefits, no veteran rights, until Congress recognized them as veterans in 1977. That's unfair, Williams said. Exactly. But women like Eleanor didn't complain. They just did their duties. A week passed. Rodriguez visited to check on Eleanor. The elderly woman was fine. She had promised to be more careful in the kitchen. Mrs. Thompson, I have a question. Why did you choose to become a pilot? Eleanor thought. When I was little, my father took me to air shows. When I saw the planes, my heart raced. But back then, women couldn't be pilots. When the WASP program opened, I applied immediately. It must have been a tough training process. Very tough. 25,000 women applied. Only 1,830 were accepted. 1,074 of us graduated. You were among those who graduated? Yes, and among the lucky ones. Most of us were buried in silence after the war. Rodriguez understood. Women of Eleanor's generation had been forced to return to being housewives after the war ended. Do you regret it? Eleanor smiled. Never. The moments I was in that plane were the freest moments of my life. In the sky, I felt like a god. And now I'm an old woman, but no one can take those memories from me. As Rodriguez was leaving, Eleanor gave him something, an old pilot logbook. I'm giving this to you, Eleanor had said. Maybe someday someone will want to read these stories. When Rodriguez opened the logbook, he saw notes written in small, neat handwriting. March 15th, 1944, flight to Nevada with P-51. Strange vibration in engine sound, safe landing, mechanics fix the problem. March 22nd, 1944, mission to Arizona with B-25, caught in storm, very turbulent, but successful. April 3rd, 1944, P-47 test flight, perfect aircraft. I love this job. Every page was proof of Eleanor's courage, determination, and love of flying. Rodriguez put the logbook in the station library. Let future generations know, he said. At the end of our story, Eleanor Thompson taught us this. Sometimes the greatest heroes are the quietest ones. They do their duties, feel honored, but don't boast. And do you think such hidden heroes might be living among us? Your elderly neighbor, the grocery cashier, or the bus driver? Who knows what extraordinary pasts they have? Share such hidden heroes you know in the comments. And if this story affected you, don't forget to like and subscribe, because every week we bring you a new human story. May Eleanor Thompson's soul rest in peace, and may all the silent heroes like her be remembered.